Supercoach and Fantasy Sports Show. You are now listening to the Inside Fantasy Sports Podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, on behalf of the Standard Squeeze, welcome to the Round 21 preview for the AFL, brought to you on behalf of the Inside Fantasy Sports podcast team. My name is the Big Horse, and I'll be solo tonight. Unfortunately, Robbie himself is in Melbourne visiting family. Shout out to Robbie. But I'll do my best to bring you the content that we jointly bring to you each week, hopefully giving you some insight into who to vice captain, to captain, and some weekly lookout for teams from a punting point of view and also from a Supercoach point of view. Because we all know it's finals time in Supercoach. And if you're like me, you blew your trades a couple of weeks ago. So what more is there to look forward to than to punt and win some coins? So let's get stuck into it. So we already see that in the chat, we've got a little bit already brewing, which is nice. From one of our co-hosts of the NRL podcast, The Brain, solid bloke he is, need a solid VC this week. My captaincy choices have been awful lately. Mate, that's probably because you didn't pick the right cattle from the start of the year, and I'm part to blame for that. But this week, I'm thinking Bontempelli tonight. I think against the Tigers at Marvel. Tigers don't play well at Marvel. English and Nankervis, that'll be an interesting duel in the ruck. Nankervis has got the ability to go forward and hit the scoreboard like English. English is a little bit more agile, but I'm thinking for a solid pick for VC tonight, if you're looking to go tonight, Bontempelli. I think Taranto, Liberatore, head-to-head there. Richmond are resting a few players as well. So VC this week, I'd go Bontempelli if you have him, mate. Jake Skidmore as well, who's been helping us out with the NBA. Skiddy, how are you, brother? We're running with Tingle's hot hand VC on Nag to shut him down. Yeah, we just bought this up. I'm thinking Bont, but not 100% sure. Mate, over the last 4 weeks, English has been really solid, averaging over 130 in those 4 weeks. I think Nank does shut him down to an extent, but English is unlike other rucks in the comp where he can get the ball below his knees. He can use it. He's quite good by foot. When he does go forward, he's a good kick for goal. So, when you're looking at that, his conversion rate's quite good. And his ability to rack up Supercoach points really quickly. I think you could go. I don't think you're going to go wrong either way between Bontempelli and English tonight. I've got Bont. I'm rocking a VC. I don't think you can go wrong by slapping a VC on English, but I don't think he's going to go as large as what he has the last couple of weeks. Little Logan, the biggest horse. Yeah, you're right, mate. You know it. So what we'll do. How are you, Logan, by the way? Sorry, brother. What we'll do is we'll get into the first game tonight, Richmond versus Western Bulldogs. Interesting. The first game this year between these two teams, I believe it was round 4. Western Bulldogs knocked off the Richmond Footy Club by 5 points at the G. Richmond are known for being good at the G. So if you look at tonight's in and outs for the Western Bulldogs, you've got Liam Jones coming back, which is going to solidify their back line, along with Ed Richards, who provides run, and James O'Donnell. Out, Josh Bruce, God bless him, all the best with the ACL recovery. Hopefully he's still on a list next year because he does bring a bit. Not Supercoach-wise, though, unfortunately. Alex Keith, underrated, out. He's very good back there. Ryan Gardner and Luke Cleary. So that's 3 backmen that you've got there that are out. Thank Christ the Doggies have got Liam Jones coming back in by the looks of that. For Richmond, Toby Nankervis is in. Jaden Short back in. Noah Cumberland and Jacob Bauer out. These are interesting. Trent Cotchin and Dustin Martin both managed. Dusty's a big X factor for Richmond. And if it's not going their way, you often see that he's thrown into the middle. They're using him, to get a bit of ball out of there. Him and Shai Bolton, very similar. Dusty a bit better than Shai, of course. But when we're talking about a bit of X factor, a bit of flair, give me a don't argue, give me a banana from 40 out. It's the type of stuff that raises a team. The fact that Martin's out, Cotchin's out, Ben Miller, your backup ruck. So who are they rocking with? Nankervis and Soldo. They're probably the best 2 ruckmen that Richmond have to offer there. Mansell, who's an underrated defensive forward, and Sam Banks. We're talking about from a punting point of view, I'm picking Western Bulldogs 4 goals tonight, and Bontempelli, as I was saying earlier, my VC. Keep the questions coming in, guys, because it is finals time in Supercoach. And if you do have trade options, we have researched this a little bit this week. Happy to give you some advice on what to do. I'm in 8 rounds, and 7 of those I'm playing finals. There's one round that I think we're ranked 60th in all the leagues that are rocking around, and I've just missed finals in that one. So I'm fairly well positioned, although I'm without a trade now. So it's fingers crossed, and hopefully I've got Sam Walsh sitting on my bench, and I'm hoping Marcus Windhager can come through and score me a solid 90 to 100 this weekend to help me get through to the next round. Next game we're going to look at here is Essendon and West Coast at Marvel. So we're probably looking at getting all of 150 people at Marvel, 149 of them Essendon supporters. Me being an Essendon supporter, been a little bit disappointing in the last probably 5 weeks, only won 1 game. We've basically played ourselves out of finals. Mr. Scott, our coach, has said all along that this year finals weren't a priority for us, and I get that. But it's still nice after 20-odd years of not winning a final. I still want to get there and win one, so can you sort your shit out? Out is Will Snelling and Alwyn Davey, and in, now this is only rumour, but God himself. They say that on the 7th day he rested. He didn't. On that 7th day, he created Elijah Zatzis. So here you go. This guy is going to be huge for the Essendon Footy Club. Love what this guy brings. He's got a real ability to win the ball. His disposal by foot's still a little bit shanky, but I feel with games at the top level, he's going to be really solid for the Essendon Footy Club for a lot of years to come. He's hoping for me as an Essendon supporter that you've got the likes of him and Perkins and Hobbs and these guys all coming through now. Cox, I want to see get some more senior footy into. I think that's our midfield of the future. Perkins, Zatzis, Hobbs. I'm still sticking by my call that I made midway through the year, and I would love to see the Essendon Footy Club trade off Parrish. I believe he is expendable. I believe he is replaceable, and I feel like we could get some really good quality players and or picks back for him. So not that the Essendon Footy Club's going to listen to me, but he's hoping that sort of stuff happens. Logan, what else you got to say here, brother? I fell out of Supercoach runnings weeks ago, just here for the vibes. Going to get plenty of vibes here, mate. What you should do, mate, is just, you know what? Uber Eats, Zinger Box, extra piece of chicken, delicious. Treat yourself, mate. Couple of stubbies tonight, you deserve it. Vibes are always good here, Braino. Thank you very much. Who top scores this weekend? Pick a player and score. Jesus, that's not bad from you, mate. Not bad. How about we go through all the teams first and then we'll pick someone then? But it's not going to be LDU. So we can put a finger through that one to start with nice and early. Had a Zinger Box last night. Treat yourself, mate. Don't be a shit cunt. Get another one. Upsize it. Don't care. Anyway, I digress. West Coast. Here we go. In Jeremy McGovern, that's a big in for them. He's quite good across half-back. And Josh Rotham, who, for me, he'll probably get delisted at the end of this year, being pretty inconsistent. Out, rested, retired. Shannon Hearn, congratulations on a good career. He's been really good for West Coast, especially during the premiership years. And even when they've been pretty ordinary over the last couple of years, he's been a real mainstay when he's been healthy down there. 300 and something games. He's been really, really nice. So congratulations and good luck in retirement. You're welcome on this pod anytime. Dom Sheed out. Rhett Bazzo. Who are you, mate? Don't care. Not Supercoach relevant. Essendon, been playing shithouse, but we'll win by 8 goals. Any questions about top goal scorers? Jeez, Langford's actually been sneaky good the last few weeks. I reckon 4 goals for Langford into a 5 goals or 6 goals plus win for Essendon. And then West Coast don't have a tagger, so throw Merritt in for 30 touches. That should snag you some nice value. Next game. There's some horrible chat about LDU in there that we're just going to ignore at the moment. Adelaide v West Coast in Adelaide. I've done some research on this. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. People are thinking Adelaide, they're bloody good at home. The last 2 games Adelaide and Gold Coast have played, Gold Coast have beaten them both times by 40 points. So when we're looking at certain things, certain consistencies over the past. You have to read into this a little. Yes, one was in Gold Coast and one was in Darwin. But to beat a team as good as Adelaide by 40 points 2 times in a row, and even before that, 2022, 2021 as well, Gold Coast lost to Adelaide in Adelaide by a goal. So if you're looking for your unders overs for points, I'd be taking the unders for sure. I think Gold Coast, even without Took Miller, for the scrotum scratch that he gave Zorko, and we all know Zorko probably asked for it. He's got a week for that, which I think is bullshit. But anyway, footy's footy. You get pinned for tackling someone high, you go low, and then you get pinned and you get a week off for tackling someone low. So hopefully this isn't a sign of things to come. But yeah, what are my thoughts on squirrel grips? Depends who's giving them to me, but in this instance, I hate them. Clearly, he didn't mean it. He's going to tackle the person with the ball. Conduct unbecoming is unbelievable. Surely, what about just a suspended fine or something? Keep your hands above the belt. Anyway, I digress again. Looking into the Adelaide Crows side, James Ball-Lace is in for his first game. So he's a next generation player that's come up through the system there in Adelaide. Really, really nice player. Not Supercoach relevant, especially given that it's finals, but one to keep your eye on for next year for sure. I think he's going to show something. And Josh Rochelle, he's been a bit out of sorts lately. He was Supercoach relevant earlier in the year, but he's done now. So put a line through him. We'll have to check his price early next year because he has started the last couple of seasons well. Out, Rory Sloane, disappointing. He's quite good. Not just quite good, quite big for the Adelaide Crows. Luke Pedlar and Jordan Butts. 2 really good role players, and Rory Sloane being a starter in Adelaide Crows for a long time. Yeah, bugger it. I'm going to do it. I'm going to tip Gold Coast. I think that in Adelaide, yes, we know Adelaide are good at home, but they've shown of recent times that they can play that ground well out there. Let's hope. Put a line through Adelaide's season, kept their own finals hopes alive. Last week against Brisbane was the best coached game, for the season. Stephen King, awesome. Took on to Lachie Neale, did the job. His players were running hard both ways. They were looking for multiple avenues to goal. Really like what they were doing there. Hopefully it's the same this week, and especially without Jordan Butts, Nick Murray, 2 key defenders. They're playing Ball-Lace, a first gamer at fullback. Geez, if he goes to King could be in for a big game. And you look at Adelaide's back line with Ball-Lace, Keane, Worrell, McDelaney, get around him. There's 4 players with under 15 games in experience. That's really, really light on when you're talking about an AFL footy club, and especially for those of you that have played footy before, back 6 get the chicks, your mids work together, and your forwards play together. Your back 6 here probably outside of Brodie Smith, and then you got Wayne Malera as the other one. They're probably average 30 games, all 6 between them. So that's not much. So, yeah, I'm picking Gold Coast, even without telling you who's out, and it's Took Miller. So we'll wait to see who comes in. I believe, from what I'm reading here, it's Jai Farah, who's nice as a sub. He can play back, he can play forward, he can sneak goals, he can play as a running defender. I quite like that tactical substitution they've got there. So Gold Coast by 2 goals for me. That's the upset of the round for me. Let's move on. Hawthorn Collingwood. So I've got some stats here for you as well for Hawthorn and Collingwood. But before we do, we'll go into the teams for Hawthorn. In is Jack Scrimshaw, Harry Morrison, Jacob Kazitsky, and Ned Reeves. 3 good ins. I don't rate Jacob Kazitsky. I think he'll be lucky to find himself on an AFL list next year, and if he does, it won't be at Hawthorn. Out, Sam Frost, Sam Frost is as bad as what his disposal is. He's actually quite good as a lockdown back. Lloyd Meek is the backup ruck, played well last week. He's out. Tyler Brockman, who Hawthorn really need to re-sign ASAP. Lockie Bramble, who's been nice for him down back, and Cam McKenzie, a good little up-and-comer. Collingwood's out. Will Hoskin-Elliott, the big Cox, Mason Cox, all 6 foot 100 of him, and Oleg Markov, usual spelling. In Bobby Hill, Ash Johnson, couple of forwards there. When we're talking about Collingwood and Hawthorn, it's always close. no matter where each team sits on the ladder. So I'll read you these that we've dived into. So earlier this year, Collingwood beat Hawthorn by a goal. Last year, in June, Collingwood beat Hawthorn by 4 points. The year before, Collingwood beat Hawthorn. No, sorry, Hawthorn beat Collingwood by 3 goals. This year in pre-season, it was close again. It's pre-season, so we're not going to worry about statistics and figures behind that. But something I want to bring up is Finn McGuinness. Really, really nice run with play. One of the top 3 lockdown run with players or taggers, as you will, in the league. He will go to Dacos. Do not VC or C Dacos this week. He did a job early this year in the preseason and kept Dacos to 15 touches. Did it to a degree earlier this year as well. Dacos, if you're looking for your 120s, 130s, not going to happen this week. So with a comment that Braino dropped earlier, who do you think is going to be your top scorer and what are they going to score? It will not be Dacos this week. Happy to have him in your team. He may get you the 100, but I can't see him going extra big. Are there any players in this game that I can see going large? Pendlebury, and I'm talking 120s. Josh Dacos maybe as well. And then you got the likes of Connor Nash, that if Finn McGuinness doesn't get the run with role, Connor Nash, he's a lockdown mid as well. So they've got a couple of defensive mids that could do the job. I think this will be close again. I think Collingwood, but just at the G. Should be a pretty good crowd. Keep dropping in your comments as well. We'll address them as we go along. Thank you to those that have jumped in and listened. For those of you that have just joined, Robbie's away with the family. Won't be joining me tonight, unfortunately. So you're stuck with me for the next probably 20-odd minutes. Next game. Geelong Port. Geelong looked cooked last week, didn't they? Against Freo of all teams, down at the Cattery. We're back down there this week. Rumour has it that it's going to be wet. So I believe that'll play into, pardon me, I believe that'll play into Port Adelaide's hands, but we'll get into the team. So out, a couple of big outs actually. Mark Blitzabs, who's been, since he's come into their team, he's been a revelation. Can play back, can't really play forward, but runs as a midfielder, plays as a hybrid ruck. Really, really nice player. And Tommy Hawkins, who he's towards the end of his career, yes, but when you're 6'5" and 300 kegs, you can just throw people around at will. You can push people off the contest. You can allow your crummers like Stengel, Rowan, these sorts, Bradley Close to get a heap of crumbs, kick their crumbing goals. So that's a bigger out than what a lot of people are giving credit for to Geelong. In regards to Port Adelaide, Tommy Jonas he's probably lucky to get back in, to be honest with you. He's been pretty ordinary, but I believe that he's a straight replacement for Aliir, but we'll get into that. Willie Rioli back in, and Ollie Lord, who showed a lot of promise earlier this year, out. Charlie Dixon, Kane Farrell, and the 2 blokes who were concussed last week, and everyone else could see that apart from the Port Adelaide doctors, Aliir and Lockie Jones. Rumour has it, even Stevie Wonder could see that these 2 were concussed and Port Adelaide doctors couldn't. So what do? They might be looking for new jobs. What do I think this game? I think Port Adelaide are going to beat them down at the Cattery. I think even with the experience of Vizinetti, I don't think that's going to be as big a deal as what people are leading on to be, especially given that it's Reece Stanley that he's up against this week. Reece Stanley may score okay Supercoach points-wise, but I doubt will be too heavily effective around the ground. The likes of Butters, Rosie, I think Wines, if it's wet, he'll have a big game. The Todd Marshall, these sorts of guys, Pow Pepper, their forward line looks sneaky nice. They've named Horn Francis at halfback, probably won't play there. And after starting the year off well, he's fizzled out worse than what he was at North for all you North Melbourne supporters. So you've done well so far to get the picks that you have back, but my fear is that guy's going to turn into a superstar in the years to come. When you're looking at the coverage that Geelong have, fairly nice. Tui, Holmes, O'Connor, Bowes named on the bench with a forward line of Brian Myers, the number 1 assist man in the competition, Ollie Henry, Stengel, Rowan, Cameron Close. you look at that and they're almost anticipating that it's going to be wet, given that they've named outside of Cameron, who can also play well below his knees, four Rovers and a hybrid and Ollie Henry. So for me, Port Adelaide, 2 goals this game. Let's get into the next game. GWS Sydney. Won't this be a cracker? No, it won't. So, teams. Jesse Hogan and Tom Green. He's back. The man. Hamstring, pig string, must be good. Out. Isaac Cumming, Ryan Anglin, Aaron Cadman. Tom Green, nice in. Really nice play. He's one of those players that you know will be Supercoach relevant for years and years to come now. Good with the ball in and under. Can't really kick to save his life, but when he gets the ball 3 million times a game, you know that you're going to get first use for your outside players in Josh Kelly and Phil Callahan and Whitfield and these sorts of players. Sydney in Tom Hickey. They've kind of needed Hickey to come back. Hayden McLean, he's not too bad, but he's not a first choice ruckman. And Aaron Francis back. Out, Lance Franklin. Congratulations on a great career, Lance, or Buddy. I'll call you Buddy. Has tormented my boys at the Essendon Footy Club for a long time. And from that point of view, thank Christ you're gone, mate. Can't deal with many more nightmares of you telling us up. Justin McInerney out with the calf and Dan Rampy out with the calf. GWS to continue their run, I believe. They've been playing really well of late, getting their run and carry going. They're taking the game on a little bit more. They're nice with it. So GWS 4 goals. I've had a few questions this week in the Twitter sphere in regards to Callum Mills. So Callum Mills is basically this year playing where other people can't. So he's the fill-in player when they need a third forward or when they need someone to play as an F6 or a rotating midfielder. He's played down back. He's played through the midfield. He's played on a wing. There's been no consistency in Callum Mills' game this year, which is why his Supercoach scores have suffered. I believe next year with a good run, clean bill of health for the Sydney Footy Club, that this will change and he'll get back to his piggy self along with Errol Goulden. But for this year, if you still have trades, I wouldn't be bringing him in. I think he's done for this year. Toby Green, underrated, probably one of the best captains in the AFL at the moment. Yeah, he was known as a bit of a scrub, but you look at what he does for that footy club on the ground and the way that he conducts himself. And even last week, they were down big against the Western Bulldogs. And in the last half, he came out and kicked, 4 goals in the third quarter, kicked 5 for the game. Won the game when you're talking about forwards that are making an impact on the contest. So he's really been really big for them this year. And Himmelberg, disappointing with that signing. I was hoping that Essendon would find a way for him to come to our footy club, but congratulations on signing a new long-term deal. Someone who doesn't get spoken about enough, though, is Taylor. He is the All-Australian fullback. He has been unbelievable this year and thoroughly deserves it. Lock it in, Sam Taylor, All-Australian fullback. Into Sunday's game, North Melbourne. So teams have not quite dropped yet, or some have, some haven't. So for North Melbourne, Lockie Young is the only out. They haven't named an in yet. For Melbourne, Tom Sparrow in, Adam Tomlinson and Taj Woden out. My theory is this could get really messy. If you've got trades or if you've kept Sheasel, congratulations. If you've got trades, I'm backing Sheasel in this week. Why? There's no Zeeble anymore. Retired. Aaron Hall, retired. So he took our advice from earlier in the year. We weren't real happy when he was playing and taking Sheasel's points. This is a look into the future of the North Melbourne Footy Club. So as I look through the list here, you've got Ben Mackay, who won't be there next year, reportedly going to Essendon. Archer, Goda, Thomas. We'll see about Thomas. Ford, LDU, superstar. Scott, who's been underrated this year. Taylor, Tucker. Stevenson's been better than what I thought he'd be. Phillips, Larkey, Curtis, Ekshiri, Sheasel, Simpkin. They're great. This side's going to be really, really nice in a couple of years' time. Big question, Cunnington. I want to hear it in the chat. Do you think he's going to retire? Or if he doesn't retire, do you think he's going to be offered a new contract? My gut feeling is they need some senior bodies around and that he'll probably get signed on as a rookie or something along those lines, because that is a really, really young list. And along with Goldstein, they need to carry them forward. Goldstein being the servant of the footy club that he's been and really been a no-fuss type of player for such a long or such an amount of time for the North Melbourne Footy Club, I believe that he probably deserves the right to, we see it in the NBA, request a trade, not to the extent that I want to go here because I want to win a flag. Give him the option. Like if you want to, I can go to a contender. Let's try and get you there as a way of saying thank you for putting up with management, making our team as shit as what it's been the last 3 years. So here we go. I've just been corrected. Cunnington under contract until 24. So he's still got 1 year. Fantastic. That's good for the young kids. Do I think he'll play? Probably not. But that's really good in the way of mentoring. Melbourne snuck themselves back into premiership contention, I guess, when you're talking about the top four: Port, Collingwood, Melbourne, and then whoever else you want to throw in there. Probably GWS is my number 4 team at the moment with the way they've been playing. Brayshaw, really nice since Oliver's been out, averaging about 105. Viney, inconsistent, but can bring you big numbers. Someone that's been really disappointing is Christian Salem. So he's been spoken about on many levels and by many podcasts in regards to his potential for Supercoach points. He's been shit. Don't pick him. Just leave him. Hopefully someone else picks him up off waivers if you're in a draft league, and don't trade him in if you've got the trades because he's been ordinary. Gawn, averaging 168 over the past 4 weeks. So if you listened to us 4 or 5 weeks ago when we said bring him in and you brought him in, congratulations. Slap a C on him. He's probably going to go really large again. Petraka, really nice as well. They've named Lockie Hunter in the middle. There's no chance he plays in the middle. He's never got a hard ball get in his life. Next game, St Kilda Carlton at Marvel. It's going to be St Kilda's park the bus defensive type structure versus Carlton's let's bomb it in and hope for the best type scenario. Last time these two teams played, Carlton was in the midst of a bit of a run when we're talking about just bombing it in long. They looked a bit lost. St Kilda got up over the top of them. Now on the return leg, Carlton have really been playing well of late, and even last week, knocking over Collingwood. This will be closer again. I think Marshall will go fairly well. I don't think he's a VC or C option, but Marshall's a nice option when you're talking about going up against De Koning this week. And Pitnet, I think he's got the goods in him to go 120, 130. The others that I think will score nicely, Wanganeen Malera, who's one that I'll be watching for next year, Jack Sinclair, and a combination of Crouch and Steele. Winhager's been sneaky nice over the past month as well. When we're talking about Carlton, a bit of consistency here. If you're a Carlton supporter and you're in the chat, I want to hear it. Is your team better without Harry Mackay on your side? Because figures-wise, stats-wise, and win-wise, proof's in the pudding. Would you trade him? Would you get rid of him? Would you try and void his contract? Bring in someone else? Bring in another back? Let's see where this goes. Kemp's been nice since coming back into the team. So is Newman. Wiedering was really good last week. Someone that surprised me last week, not really Supercoach relevant, but has been in the past, Caleb Marchbank. He's been injured with every injury under the sun. Probably doesn't even have 10 figures or 10 toes left anymore, but he's come back the last couple of weeks has been really good. Nice to see him playing senior footy again. Someone that's disappointed me this year, and to the extent of when I was down to minimal trades, I've just had to bench him. Adam Saab. He's been ridiculous. He's been averaging, 85 in the past 6 weeks. Just, he's not worth it for me. The Pig Doherty back to his old self again. And someone from an AFL playing point of view outside of Supercoach, Ollie Hollands. His two-way running for a rookie is unbelievable. Some of the best that I've seen. Not to the extent, but when you're talking about running-wise, Nick Rewalt back when he was a rookie. Runs hard both ways. gets to the contest. We saw a clip last week where he ran back into the back line, made a spoil deep. Carlton made their way forward. Then all of a sudden he's got the ball at half forward, delivering the ball inside 50. When you've got that sort of run, that sort of motor, that spells good things for rookies. For St Kilda, in Maxi King's back in. Well, there you go. I thought he was done for the year. And Bradley Hill, the speedster, out Jack Billings. He's disappointing. He's been really disappointing this year. He was really Supercoach relevant a couple of years ago. And now he's not. Zach Jones out with probably some anger issues, and Liam Stocker. Zach Jones gets angry, doesn't he? This game, I think it'll be close, but Carlton just. Last game before we wrap it up for tonight, or we'll get into some VC and C options and scoring options. Freo versus Brisbane in Perth, hopefully under the sunshine. In Brendan Cox, that's a nice in for Freo. Out Joel Hamling and Ethan Stanley. Brisbane in Zach Bailey, nice player, Darcy Ford and Jackson Pryor. Out Oscar McInerney, that's a big out for them. So they'll be relying on Darcy Ford, Caden Coleman, Kyle Lohman, and James Tunstall. Did anyone else see last week? So Brisbane were down by 6 goals. That was one of the best games I saw all year, by the way. Brisbane trying to bully Gold Coast, and Gold Coast just going, nah, took Miller. I'm going to squirrel grip you, Zorko. And then come out and smash Brisbane. But then at the end, there was about 4 minutes to go. And Kyle Lohman kicked his first goal in AFL. And he celebrated like they were up by 10 goals. Good on you, kid, but you still lost. So when we're talking about Supercoach relevant players this game, Jackson v. Fort, that could be really delicious for Luke Jackson. Really delicious. He's going to have Fort covered across the ground. The one-on-one contest, when we're talking ball-ups around the ground, Fort may have him just, but when we're talking about his ability to push forward, his ability to push back, his ball-winning ability around the ground, he can kick goals. He could be in for a big one. So when you're looking at Jackson, Erasmus has been sneaky nice this year as well. Sarong, Brayshaw, up against the likes of Neil, Dunkley, McCluggage. That's going to be a really nice head-to-head battle in there. I think it's where it'll be won and lost. This game will be dependent. I'm going to tip Fremantle because it's in Perth. But this game will be dependent whether if Danaher is selfish, Brisbane lose. If he's unselfish and brings his teammates into it, they'll win. He's one of the most selfish footballers in the AFL at the moment. And second is that other tall bloke that they've got down there, Eric Hitwood. Just play some team footy, boys. If you play team footy, you're probably going to win a flag or go close to winning the flag. If it's all going to be me time, see you later. Gold Coast will knock you over again. So when we're talking about VC and C options for the week, let's look to Bontempelli English tonight. Liberatore v Taranto. That'll be a really nice contest in and under. I don't think you'll see big numbers out of either of them unless the contested possessions are up through the roof. I think it'll be a scrap between those two. But the Doggies under the roof at Etihad, 4 goals. Essendon to beat West Coast. You couldn't really slap a VC on merit. West Coast don't have a tagger. They were running Jinby as a tagger. If they try that Gary Clark, that's not going to work against someone like Merritt. Parrish even, but I'm off Parrish at the moment. West Coast, you're not looking at anyone in their side for a VC option. Adelaide, you're looking to the likes of Laird and Dawson. But I do want to bring this up. You're not looking to Riley O'Brien this week because of him versus Jared Witts. But who is Matty Rao going to go to? Matty Rao, I believe, will go to Laird. Try and curb that inside ball-winning ability. And, yeah, hopefully get Gold Coast across the line, which I've tipped. Justin Herbert, the man who believes LDU can lift 7-11s, and he probably can. Joe Danaher is as selfless as they come. Yeah, and pigs fly. My God, that is the most bullshit call I've seen all year. You're better than that, Justin. So, be careful of the Matt Rao situation with Adelaide. If you're going to tip a VC or C option out of that game, you're going Dawson. I think Matty Rao will go to Rory Laird. Hawthorn Collingwood, do not VC or C Dacos. You heard it here first. You heard it here last. Don't trust anyone else that says otherwise. He'll be lucky to score 100. No one else from that game, really. If you've got Warple, don't touch him either. Geelong, Port Adelaide, Butters, Rosé, they've been really good and consistent all year. Butters looks like he's carrying a little niggle, so if you've got him in your side, that's nice, but I wouldn't risk a VC or C option on him. For Geelong, I think Port are a bit smarter in the way that they've got the likes of Dixon, they've got Marshall, they've got Ollie Lord, they've got these sorts of players, so that they're going to power pepper to an extent as well. So they're going to look multiple ways of getting the ball inside 50. Stewart's biggest asset is his ability to read the ball in flight and read where the ball's going. But when you've got more than one key forward, this is going to throw it up a little bit. And it's going to make Stewart second guess himself a little bit. Whereas if you're playing against say an Essendon Footy Club that you know that the ball's going to Peter Wright when it goes inside 50, that's when your likes of Stewart and that are going to go huge. So I'll be just wary on Stewart in that game. But I'm probably not looking at anyone in that game for a VC or C option. Sydney, GWS, Goulden, I think he'll be nice. It depends. If it's wet, probably not. If it's wet, you're probably looking at Green or even a Cornelio, dare I say. Briggs versus Hickey, I think Briggs could go nicely as well this week. Josh Kelly's been disappointing as well. I picked him up a couple of weeks ago thinking he'd get back to his piggish self, but he's only averaged, 99, 98 in the past 3 weeks. So, I wouldn't be touching him as well. If you got the trades, I brought it up before, I'd be bringing in Sammy Taylor. Awesome player, all-Australian backman, and has been consistently scoring over 110 for the past 6-7 weeks. I think it's 8 weeks since he came back in round 12, round 13. North Melbourne. If you got a C option, just leave it. Leave it on Gawn. Gawn could score 1 million this week. He is awesome. He has averaged nearly 170 since Grundy's been out of the side. And what I'll do, pardon me for a sec. What I'll do is I want to throw it out to our viewers at home as well. Hit us up on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Threads even. Geez, we're going worldwide now. Tell us, who do you think would be your VC or C option this week? And on top of that, Grundy, is he staying? Is he going? And if he gets traded, where's he going? Because for me, and I've said it a few times, I think Port Adelaide, he's an Adelaide boy. Port Adelaide don't really have that big, solid ruckman in their side. So I think you'll see him in Port Adelaide colours next year. For North Melbourne, I think Sheasel will score well. Not really anyone else. So Gawn, and Gawn. St Kilda Carlton, if you really wait until this late in, you got the Brisbane game as well, so you'd be looking at Dunkley. But in this game, geez, no one really. Doherty, if you really want to get spicy. But with St Kilda's defensive game plan, you're probably looking at someone across half back or someone that can accumulate the ball for Carlton. So potentially Doherty. I think with the way that St Kilda stack their back line as well, I don't think you'll see Curnow have a field day. So if you've got him, I wouldn't worry about him. And then the likes of Sinclair and Marshall. Sinclair is probably the more confident one that I'd slap a VC or C option on. Finally, Fremantle and Brisbane. You can never go wrong with Dunkley. If your VC option doesn't work out for you and you don't have Gawn, just slap it on Dunkley. Although the last few weeks, Sarong and Brayshaw have come on really well. And we've got one on Twitter, if you don't mind me bringing it up. We had a question that one trade left, 580K, who you bringing in? For me, Angus Brayshaw from Fremantle. He's scored 130 over the last couple of weeks. He's been scoring fairly well. He had a bit of a lull throughout the season, but he's really coming on strong. So, yeah, that's going to be a point of difference. Bring him in. Love that. For Brisbane, who's going to go to Neil and who's going to go to Dunkley. I think with the smaller midfielders we've called it all year, the bigger midfielders always play well against Fremantle, purely because when you're looking at Brayshaw, when you're looking at Sarong, when you're looking at Erasmus, there are Walters who runs through there. They're all smaller bodies. So the likes of Dunkley is going to get a lot of contested possessions. He's going to get a lot of pill himself. For me, it's going to be the Dunkley show. On the Fremantle side, Luke Jackson. Let's get spicy. If you're still looking for a VC or C option and you're this far into it and you need someone to go big at the end, let's go Luke Jackson. I think against Darcy Fort, he'll smash him. For the guys that are tuned in, thank you. I will shout out to the Standard Squeeze one more time. There's a code down the bottom here, Insight15U. Get on that website, standardsqueeze.com.au. Put in our details, Insight15. You get 15% off. And you know what? If you're buying for Father's Day's coming up, beautiful present for the old man, or for any old man's watching, for your son. Get him a treat. I use mine. Got the CC and dry in this one. This morning, had a coffee in it. Yesterday, had a coffee in it when we're dropping the NBA podcast, which you can also catch on our Insight Fantasy Sports Pod network. And for all good things, we've got a Discord channel as well. So what we'll do is we'll drop a link in this. You can click on the link, join our Discord. We've currently got an NFL draft going. We've got an EPL draft going on. Big Bash Leagues coming up shortly. AFL, NRL, NBA, and some spicy news in a couple of weeks regarding another basketball competition. Stay tuned for that one. But for those of you that have tuned in, that have dropped comments, thank you. For those of you that haven't, click like, click subscribe, get a hold of us at Insight Fantasy Sports. But for now, I'm the Big Horse, and see you next time.